The offering property. K, accepting employment or compensation. Right? Accepting employment or compensation contingent upon the issuance of an appraisal at a predetermined value. Obviously, this kind of makes sense. I don't think I have ever seen anyone in my life say, I will list your house as long as it's over 100 grand. All right? I think what they're trying to say here is to keep people from not taking houses that's not, I don't want to deal with a $5,000 house. It's not worth it to me, so I'm going to tell you that. All right? What you learn to say is, I'm not familiar with that neighborhood, and I'm not your best resource to list that property.
So somebody, this probably falls back on the laws of if somebody comes to you and says, I want to list on Washington and Rule, and you're like, I don't want to be in that neighborhood, you can't turn them down based on.
I can turn them down. Not based on saying, I want it appraised at 100 grand before I even go to work. I got to make $3,000 or I'm not going to work. Typically what you would say is, you dodge that bullet by, I'm not familiar with that neighborhood. I don't think I'd be your best listing agent. I deal a lot in Perry Township. Sorry, don't know Center Township. But I'll give you the name of somebody. Okay, letter M. Or letter L. Appraising real property in which you have an interest and you fail to disclose your interest. You guys always have to disclose your interest. If you're buying and selling, I have an interest, you disclose that I'm licensed. When I bought the house I'm at now, I had to disclose on the purchase agreement that I am a licensed agent. The theory is I know more than them and I could out-trick them. So you disclose up front, I've got a license. We're getting ready to put our property on for sale that we moved out of. I will have to disclose on the listing that I am a licensed agent. All right? Just disclose. It's not a big deal. Letter M's the punch in the nose. Soliciting or negotiating a listing contract, sale, exchange, or lease of real property with a principal if you know that that principal has an existing relationship with another agent. You cannot talk to another agent's client. If you do, I will punch you in the nose. All right? You cannot talk to another agent's client because I don't want to find out Joe's got a house list. I call them up and go, what's he charging you? 7? Hey, I'll do it for 6. That's not professional. So I can't talk to his client. Now, here's going to be some more problems. Even if your mother listed with someone else, first of all, you probably got another problem that you have to deal with at Thanksgiving, or maybe not. You can't talk to your mom. If she calls you up and goes, hey, I think this person's doing something wrong. Mom, sorry, I've got an ethics clause. I cannot talk to you about should have hired me to begin with, but now that you haven't, you're on your own. Because as soon as I start talking to you about real estate, your listing agent is going to call me and file a violation. All right? If they call me and I know they're listed, you are supposed to say, hey, I'm sorry. You're a client of Joe's. I can't talk to you under our ethics rules. And you certainly wouldn't want me talking to Joe about you, so I hope you understand. And if you can't find Joe because he's out of town or hasn't answered his phone, try calling his managing broker. Have a good day, and hang up. And then typically, and I get those. I've had those multiple times. Typically, I teach my agents, the next phone call you make is to Joe. Joe, your client just called me, wanted to know where you were. I don't know what's going on. I told him to contact you or your managing broker. Have a good day. That way he can never say, well, my client called you and you didn't tell me. I always call the other agent, even if I have to leave a voicemail. Hey, your client called me. They're looking for you. Something about a closing time. You better get in touch with them. See you later. See you at the closing. Hang up. Do not talk to another agent's client. That's not an easy question. What if they leave that agent? I don't really want to get in. There's too many variables there. Did they leave before they showed the house? Did they leave after the house? Did they leave before they wrote the offer? Were they actually under a written contract?
What if they're just showing houses? They haven't done any offers or anything?
They could have an exclusive agency contract, which means they can't leave the agent.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah. Even if they've showed the house, that person could be the procuring cause. Even if they don't write the offer, they can still get paid because I'm the one that showed them the house. So that's not an easy answer. All right. On top of that, you also get clients that lie. Are you dealing with another agent? The other half of that, I guess I didn't finish, is if somebody calls me and says, hey, I want to see a house, and you say, are you dealing with another agent? And they go, no. Okay. And then 2 days later, you get a phone call and go, hey, did you show Debbie houses? Because that's my client. Oh, I'm sorry, I asked her. I was sick that day. And that happens a lot. Call their agent and go, hey, I want to go see this house. Well, the Colts are playing. I can't really go, or I don't want to go. So they go, okay. So they call someone else and then lie because they really want to get in and see the house. Oh, no, I'm not working with anybody. You guys are laughing. It happens. It's happened dozens of times where the after fact, an agent has called me and said, you went and showed houses to my clients yesterday. Like, who's your client? Debbie. Dude, I asked her and she said no. Yeah, I was sick. Okay, now you got a problem because I showed her a house while she was technically your client that now she wants to write an offer on. Who's the procuring cause? Me, because I showed the house, or him because he's the agent, or both of us. This is a fun thing. Remember I told you that this isn't rocket science? Because in rocket science, all the parts go together exactly right. Here, all kinds of stuff can happen. Letter N, a licensee attempting to represent a broker that they're not affiliated with. You can only be licensed by one broker. You can't have a week gig being a Caldwell banker, and then on weekends you have a part-time job being a RE/MAX agent. All right? You can only work for one broker at a time. Paying a commission to someone who is otherwise not licensed for performing a job that requires a license. The big one here for you investor people, they call it a bird dog fee or a finder's fee. I can't pay you a commission for finding a house because you're not licensed, and that's a commission license required activity. So I can't pay you that finder's fee or bird dog fee. Letter P, a managing broker cannot request to hold another license if I know there is an intent for that licensee to not do anything. I've had people say, hey, will you hold my license for 2 years because I want to start my own business and I just want to get the 2 years over with, but I'm really going to go out and, no, I really can't do that. If your intent is to not do anything, just don't tell me that. At the end of 2 years, go, well, I tried. Didn't get anything done. Committing an act of fraud while engaged in the acts of require a license. Don't deceive or lie. If you have been convicted of a crime with a direct bearing on whether you should be trusted to serve the public, the conviction may not be the sole reason to deny your license. So just because you are X in the real world doesn't mean that you might not get a license, okay? And like I told you earlier, they are real hip on the ones that are trust-bearing. Buddy of mine's got good guy, 15 years ago, was arrested for embezzlement. He'll never get a license. That's the big one, because all we do is hold money. Finally, determined to have engaged in the unlawful discriminatory practice under the Civil Rights or Fair Housing. Told you that was a big law. You can lose your license for that. A managing broker knowing allow any of its employees to utilize the premise of a real estate school for recruiting. Told you that. I cannot allow a broker to come in here and do the Smith Jones Realty minute and tell you how good they are. Cannot use this school for recruiting. Obtaining a license through fraud or deception. Don't cheat on your tests. Don't engage in false advertising. Some of those females I see that put their picture on the card, I think that's false advertising. I mean, you see some of them and then you meet them in person and you're like, was that your high school picture? What is that? Is that wrong? There is a guy, and I'm going to tell you his name. His name is John Reynolds. John's a buddy of mine, works for Tree Realty. If you guys get a chance, go online, look up John Reynolds. John is probably 63 or 4 now, kind of heavy set. On his business cards, he uses his 1972 high school senior picture. That is his icebreaker that he loves to use when he shows him the card, and it's that 70s picture, you know, with his jacket over the shoulder, you know. Now you see John that's like bald and 60 years old and heavy set. And I told him, I was like, John, is that you or is that the guy you ate? Because he's like, no, that's my senior picture. He still uses it. It's like 40 years old. It's hilarious. And it works exactly what it's supposed to do. Because everybody always laughs and asks him, is that your grandson? Is they in the business too? John's like, no, that's me. And then that's how he gets to break the ice. Yeah, that's it. That's his picture there with the feathered hair, then classic 1970s look. Now he is, like I said, he's about 61 or 2, bald. It's hilarious. I love him. He's a great guy. Violating a state or federal regulation. If there's any other state or federal regulation, you can't violate that. If you continue to practice after you are unfit, such as professional incompetence. Failure to keep abreast of current theory. That's your continuing ed. We'll talk about that. You have to keep up. Any physical or mental disability that would keep you from doing this job. Substance abuse, impairing your license ability to practice safely. I told you, start here, end over there. Any lewd or immoral conduct in the delivery of services. I used to have a really good joke for this, and now I can't have it anymore. I used to say no more nude open houses. However, have you seen on AMC? They have a section called Naked Real Estate. Yes. What's that? Naked and Afraid, and Dating Naked. They've got 4 or 5 of them. One of them is now called Naked Real Estate. It's a couple in Florida that sell properties in the nudist colony. So they routinely have nude open houses. So I guess lewd is in the eye of the beholder. You would think, right? I don't know. It just says lewd or immoral conduct. Practice beyond the scope of your training. If you don't know how to do a short sale, don't do one until you get some help. If you don't know how to do commercial, don't do one. If you commit the acts in another state resulting in disciplinary sanction, we'll sanction you too here. So if you hold multiple state license, like Indiana and Florida, and you do something in Florida and they suspend your license, Indiana's going to suspend your license too. The sole fact that you have a case that they won in Florida is sufficient for Indiana. We don't have to have a case here because Florida laws are similar to ours. So if you got dinged in Florida and they took your license for 6 months, we're going to take your license for 6 months here. We don't even need a court case here.
So let's say your real estate agent is the nudist colony in Florida. That's not in their law books. Those are in ours, correct? But somebody on the commission here finds out you're doing that there, could that be a currency of how you're doing?
You're really stuck on these nude open houses, aren't you? I don't know. I think you could argue if that's, I don't know, is that lewd or immoral?
I say it's not lewd because you know it's a nudist colony. What do you expect? Don't go.
Everybody has a different definition of lewd. people get this all the time. Oh, I'm offended by that. Dude, you're going to need a donkey and a midget to offend me. Somewhere in there, a combination of. Okay? Don't allow your license to be used by another person, i.e. let your assistant show property. If they're unlicensed, that's letting your license be used. Don't practice with a license that's expired, inactive, unassigned, revoked, or suspended. All right? There you go. I don't know what the number is. Was there 26 letters in the alphabet? 26, 27, 28, 29. Looks like 29 incompetent practices. So if you are not doing any of these, you are assumed to be practicing competently. So go back to where we started there on page 2, where it says, powers, number 3, they adopt the standards of competent practice. That's not true. We just showed you. They adopted the standards of incompetent practice and said, if you're not doing those, you're good. All right?